The culture of hip-hop has survived for a very long time and it's still going. You may think you know it, but wait until you know what we have to tell you about it in this video, then decide for yourself if you did really know about it or not.
Hip-hop music or hip-hop music,
also known as rap music,
is a genre of popular music developed in the United States by inner-city African Americans,
Latino Americans and Jamaicans in the Bronx borough of New York City in the 1970s. It consists of a stylized rhythmic music that commonly accompanies rapping, a rhythmic and rhyming speech that is chanted. It developed as part of hip-hop culture, a subculture defined by four key stylistic elements: MCING, rapping, DJing, scratching with turntables, break dancing, and graffiti writing. Other elements include sampling beats or bass lines from records, or synthesized beats and sounds, and rhythmic beatboxing. While often used to refer solely to rapping, hip-hop more properly denotes the practice of the entire subculture. The term hip-hop music is sometimes used synonymously with the term rap music, though rapping is not a required component of hip-hop music. The genre may also incorporate other elements of hip-hop culture, including DJing, turntablism, scratching, beatboxing, and instrumental tracks.
Hip-hop as both a musical genre and a culture was formed during the 1970s when block parties became
increasingly popular in New York City, particularly among African American youth residing in the Bronx. At block parties, DJs played percussive breaks of popular songs using two turntables and a DJ mixer, to be able to play breaks from two copies of the same record, alternating from one to the other and extending the break. Hip-hop's early evolution occurred as sampling technology and drum machines became widely available
and affordable.
Turntablist techniques such as scratching and beat matching developed along with the breaks, and Jamaican toasting, a chanting vocal style, was used over the beats. Rapping developed as a vocal style in which the artist speaks or chants along rhythmically with an instrumental or synthesized beat. Hip-hop music was not officially recorded for play on radio or television until 1979, largely due to poverty during the genre's birth and lack of acceptance outside ghetto neighborhoods. Old-school hip-hop was the first mainstream wave of the genre, marked by its disco influence and party-oriented lyrics.
The 1980s marked the diversification of hip-hop as the genre developed more complex styles and
spread around the world. New school hip-hop was the genre's second wave, marked by its electro sound, and led into Golden Age hip-hop, an innovative period between the mid-1980s and mid-1990s that also developed hip-hop's own album era. The gangster rap subgenre focused on the violent lifestyles and impoverished conditions of inner-city African American youth,
gained popularity at this time.
West Coast hip-hop was dominated by G-Funk in the early mid-1990s, while East Coast hip-hop was dominated by jazz rap, alternative hip-hop, and hardcore rap. Hip-hop continued to diversify at this time with other regional styles emerging, such as Southern rap and Atlanta hip-hop.
Hip-hop became a best-selling genre in the mid-1990s and the top-selling music genre by 1999.
The popularity of hip-hop music continued through the late 1990s to mid-2000s bling era, with hip-hop influences increasingly finding their way into other genres of popular music, such as neo-soul, nu metal, and R&B. The United States also saw the success of regional styles such as crunk, a southern genre that emphasized the beats and music more than the lyrics.
And alternative hip-hop began to secure a place in the mainstream,
due in part to the crossover success of its artists. During the late 2000s and early 2010s, blog era, rappers were able to build up a following through online methods of music distribution, such as social media and blogs. And mainstream hip-hop took on a more melodic, sensitive direction following the commercial decline of gangster rap. The trap and mumble rap subgenres have become the most popular form of hip-hop during the mid-late 2010s and early 2020s. In 2017, rock music was usurped by hip-hop as the most popular genre in the United States. Hip-hop as music and culture formed during the 1970s in New York City from the multicultural exchange between African American youth from the United States and young Puerto Rican and children of immigrants from countries in the Caribbean. Hip-hop music in its infancy has been described as an outlet and a voice for the disenfranchised youth of marginalized backgrounds and low-income areas. As the hip-hop culture reflected the social, economic and political realities of their lives, many of the people who helped establish hip-hop culture, including DJ Kool Herc,
DJ Disco Wiz, Grandmaster Flash, and Africa Bambaataa were of Latin American or Caribbean origin. It is hard to pinpoint the exact musical influences that most affected the sound and culture of early hip-hop because of the multicultural nature of New York City.
Hip-hop's early pioneers were influenced by a mix of music from their cultures and the cultures they were exposed to as a result of the diversity of U.S. cities. New York City experienced a heavy Jamaican hip-hop influence during the 1990s. This influence was brought on by cultural shifts, particularly because of the heightened immigration of Jamaicans to New York City and the American-born Jamaican youth who were coming of age during the 1990s. In the 1970s, block parties were increasingly popular in New York City, particularly among African American, Caribbean and Latino youth residing in the Bronx. Block parties incorporated DJs, who played popular genres of music, especially funk and soul music. Due to the positive reception, DJs began isolating the percussive breaks of popular songs. This technique was common in Jamaican dub music,
and was largely introduced into New York by immigrants from the Caribbean,
including DJ Kool Herc, one of the pioneers of hip-hop. Because the percussive breaks in funk, soul and disco records were generally short, Herc and other DJs began using two turntables to extend the breaks. Herc created the blueprint for hip-hop music and culture by building upon the Jamaican tradition of impromptu toasting, a spoken type of boastful poetry and speech over music. On August 11, 1973, DJ Kool Herc was the DJ at his sister's back-to-school party. He extended the beat of a record by using two record players, isolating the percussion breaks by using a mixer to switch between the two records. Herc's experiments with making music with record players became what we now know as breaking or
scratching. A second key musical element in hip-hop music is emceeing,
also called MCING or rapping. Emceeing is the rhythmic spoken delivery of rhymes and wordplay, delivered at first without accompaniment and later done over a beat.
This spoken style was influenced by the African American style of capping,
a performance where men tried to outdo each other in originality of their language and tried to
gain the favor of the listeners.
The basic elements of hip-hop: boasting raps, rival posses, groups, uptown throwdowns, and political and social commentary were all long present in African American music. MCING and rapping performers moved back and forth between the predominance of toasting songs, packed with a mix of boasting, slackness, and sexual innuendo, and a more topical, political, socially conscious style. The role of the MC originally was as a master of ceremonies for a DJ dance event. The MC would introduce the DJ and try to pump up the audience. The MC spoke between the DJ's songs, urging everyone to get up and dance. MCs would also tell jokes and use their energetic language and enthusiasm to rev up the crowd. Eventually, this introducing role developed into longer sessions of spoken, rhythmic wordplay, and rhyming, which became rapping.